right. This is a, who is this? This is a Jeep Renegade? Renegade. I think it's a Renegade. Got it as a loaner from the local Jeep Ram dealer. And thought, what the hell? I haven't really reviewed anything recently. Let me review this. I mainly haven't reviewed anything because the weather sucks, which makes me not want to go anywhere driving. And thank you for putting my mail all the way in the back of the box. My mail. But anyway, I kind of, you know, when I was looking at this car from the outside, I was like, that is a ridiculous looking thing. Thought to myself, it's kind of interesting looking. A Jeep, it is not. I would certainly not call it a Jeep. But it's kind of interesting. It sort of reminds me, look-wise, of my BMW i3. Kind of the same story from the interior. It's got like, so I'm 6'2", and hopefully on that lens everything is showing up, but I mean, it's like huge up here. Not so much on here. It's not that bad. It still leagues better than my Wrangler, which pretty much everything is leagues better than my Wrangler, but yeah, legroom wise. But like head area, chest up, I mean, it's like massive in here. And that's kind of one of the reasons I kind of wanted to do a quick review of it, just because I was kind of intrigued by it. So this car, I did very, very quick research. It is a Jeep Renegade, I'm pretty sure. If it's not, then all of the research I did is for nothing. But I went to the Jeep website, see what a Jeep Renegade costs. What does a Jeep Renegade cost? So this is a Jeep Renegade Limited with a 1.3 liter engine, turbo. We'll get into that in a minute. And like all sorts of kit. Relatively nice looking and feeling interior, black. You know, it's kind of, dash stuff is, let's say, American feeling, but it really isn't half bad. It's kind of like that soft touch, sort of reptilian looking leather. Shifter feels very, very cheap, but other than that, there's not a whole lot in here to remind you that you're driving a very, very cheap car. But anyway, so for 30 grand, you get navigation, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. What I was really surprised at is this thing has adaptive cruise control, which is like, I mean, I won't buy a car anymore without adaptive cruise control on it. It's a complete life changer. Unfortunately, the adaptive cruise control on this car, while it does have a little bit of steering assist, I might have actually turned it off. Usually I do on back roads. Yes, I did. Let's turn it on. Oh, 2 cops. I already left, guys. Sorry. Adaptive cruise control, but it does not go to a stop, which is super annoying. Especially considering, I mean, I bring everything back to my wife. We just traded it in. I'll be getting into that in another video, but we just traded in my wife's 2019 Honda Civic. It was loaded. It was a touring or grand touring or whatever sport touring they call it. And that had adaptive cruise control to a stop and not only lane keep assist, but lane centering for, I'm pretty sure we paid $28,000 for that car brand new in 2019. So this not having adaptive cruise control to a stop is a little ridiculous. The Grand Cherokee, I mean, I don't know if the new Grand Cherokee L has adaptive cruise control to a stop. I would sure hope it does, but the Grand Cherokee prior to that also did not have adaptive stop. Or rather, it would stop, but then it would just sort of oh, WS6 headed out. It would bring the car to a stop, but then it would just sort of beep at you, not particularly aggressively, just kind of beep at you like, hey, and then start idling forward, which was shocking the first time it happened to me in my Wrangler. I can sort of understand it on a Wrangler because Wrangler, we don't like adaptive cruise control. That's Wrangler people for you. Ain't no damn computer gonna drive me around nowhere. But Grand Cherokee can't do stop and go. That's strange to me. When the parallel Ram can, which is the car I'm subsequently driving to pick up. Maybe I'll do a video of that after this. It's awesome, long story short. But anyway, yeah, so for 30 grand, it's pretty reasonably equipped. I mean, you got leather seats in here, one of the biggest panoramic roofs I've ever seen, and with that comes, I mean, it's raining out, but what the hell, and somehow we do this, some button does something, wait a second, that's what I want, do that, open that, and then maybe this, yeah, that closes it. Wait a second. It's not open? No, come on. Tell me it opens. Is this thing not open? Stop that now. Stop. Stop it. Stop, dude. Oh, there it goes. All right. I'm not distracted. Oh, wow. That seems like a fault. Oh, that's interesting. So you can have this windscreen. That's, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not sure if that's like a bug in that I just press both of those at the same time. You can have like a sort of a sunscreen thing kind of built in while the top is open. That's interesting. Let's see if I can figure out how to get rid of that. Okay, figure that out. Yeah, so anyway, as I was saying, absolutely massive sunroof on this thing. Let's see if I can open it further. Yep. I'm going to close it because it's very windy and it's raining. But yeah, massive sunroof. Loads of space, automatic high beams, adaptive cruise, leather, kind of cool, quirky looking little interior. I was testing the stereo earlier, as I'm not allowed to while doing YouTube videos because licensing issues, which is ridiculous. But great stereo. It also has kind of like these funny little Jeep grill logo things on the speakers, kind of like that. Looks like it's got auto dimming mirrors. What else do we have here? So we've got auto lights, we got auto temperature controls. Obviously it is a car made after 2003, so I would hope so. It's got a parking assist. It's got seemingly all the typical kind of Mopar driver assistance sort of features, which is great. I mean, again, this is a very, very cheap Jeep, so that's pretty cool. Uconnect latest version, whatever it's called, it looks like it's the 8.4-inch display, same one from my Wrangler. I'm a big fan of the Uconnect stuff, actually. In the Ram, the display is like massive. It's like 12 point, or I don't know, some ridiculous size. And it does have some slow rendering issues with the display that big. But on this 8.4-inch display, it actually works really great. It, I would say it's one of the best, well, probably the best in-car infotainment system that you can get from most manufacturers these days, not including, well, it's the Mercedes system, all that great, not really. BMW system is kind of, again, nice, but from like the sort of budgetier / American or Japanese car makers, Uconnect is pretty great. There's very, very little lag. It seems like a very high refresh rate. It looks good. You've got tons of customization for themes, but most importantly, it's super responsive.
Phones connected. Connect a phone and try again.
Don't tell me how to live my life. Yeah, so Uconnect is really great, and with this car you get Uconnect, which is quite nice. So it's got, let's see here, what did it do? So my heated seat and heated steering wheel are on because it was chilly out. Again, typical sort of Mopar ownership type stuff. How the hell do I turn that stuff off? Yeah, controls, LEDs, I'll turn that off. Let's see here, screen off, screen on. Yeah, I love a screen off button because these things are super, super distracting. I'm a computer guy, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love technology, computers. Don't necessarily love them in my car when they're just distracting, stupid little displays that make me just constantly look down. And I'm like, oh, we've got 1.1 mile to go. Still 1.1 miles. Still 1.1 miles. I don't know. That's my personality. I constantly look at shit like that if it's available for me to look at. So screen off. Turn off. Thank you. Now, all right. So well, anyway, on the dash here, that actually brings me to the dash. Now I'm still getting navigation prompts on the dash, which is nice. Another Mopar thing. So let's talk about, let's see what else. This thing has, I guess this is it being a Jeep. It's got a auto, snow, sand, mud mode. I guess it's four-wheel drive. It's got a four-wheel drive lock button, so it's got a diff locker or whatever you want, center diff locker, whatever you want to call it. I've got a feeling it's like an all-wheel drive system, and not a true transmission case, or transfer case rather, but I guess that's cool. I don't know. I mean, that if you live in a really bad climate, that's a pretty good reason to get something like this for $30,000 over one of the typical front-wheel drive cars on a Civic, on a whatever, Toyota, whatever. Yeah, I mean that could obviously be useful. Now, obviously, well, let's not say obviously. I wouldn't buy this car just because this isn't the kind of car I would drive. I did have a BMW i3 for a little while. I did not necessarily get that because it had an interior somewhat similar to this, but I got it because I was commuting to Boston 3 days a week from the South Shore of Boston, and the BMW i3 can be hacked up to do, which I did, steering assist, traffic jam assist, basically, or stop and go traffic. It'll bring the car to a stop. It'll steer up to, I hacked it to be like 60 miles an hour or something like that. So it was a really great car for that purpose. Now this is obviously not an electric car, so for me that immediately turns me off of the idea of ever purchasing it. Not because it's not electric, but because I don't have a use for a car like this. But if I was thinking about, let's say, you know, my wife, like I said, my wife just got a new car. For a second, I started thinking about telling her to take this thing for a spin while we have it, but there's no way she would tolerate adaptive cruise control without stop and go. So that's really a non-starter. Another non-starter for me with this car is the engine. So I said I would get to that earlier. It's weird. As I'm cruising along, so I'm cruising along right now. How fast am I going? 40 miles an hour. Turn on the ACC again. Love adaptive cruise control because everybody has to drive speed limit on the dot down here. God forbid you look forward. Let's just stare at our speedometers the entire time because we don't want to break the law, not even by a mile an hour. But anyway, I digress. The engine noise as you're cruising along is more or less fine. It's when you accelerate that it just gets atrocious, or when you're idling. I actually thought when I got in this thing that it was a diesel. To which point I was like, ooh, a diesel, because you know I like diesels. Here, let's see if you can hear this. It's really, I don't know, rough. It doesn't, you know what it reminds me of in a very strange way? And it's particularly strange because I actually liked the noise that this car made, but it reminds me of my old MGB. But the MGB, A, had an exhaust on it, and B, sounded good, where this car, it's not, the noise isn't coming from behind me, it's coming from in front of me, and it's sort of a gravelly, rough, high frequency kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but it's really awful. It's a really awful noise. So I don't know, I was really shocked at that. I'm more than anything, I mean, I don't care if the engine sounds bad, but don't make me listen to it inside the car. I will say it's got some balls though. I mean, it's 1.3 liter, and when I read the specs, it said 177 horsepower, and I was like, bullshit. But it actually does kind of get going, and there's not a tremendous amount of turbo lag with it, which is cool, I guess. I don't know, it's fine. So yeah, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I mean, long story short, I you know, if anybody's been thinking about checking one of these out, maybe you've seen one on the road, you're, wow, that's different. I'd say take a look at it, honestly, because it's, you know, like I said, I'm 6'2". I've got tons and tons of room, like head-wise, you know, really tons. The sunroof is fantastic. It drives relatively nice. It's kind of roly-poly, relative, you know, compared to like an equally priced, you know, sedan or hatchback or something a little bit lower. This is low, but it, I've got a feeling it's got raised suspension a little bit, which creates the roly-poly feel. But it's relatively fun to drive still. This little 1.3 is pretty eager, even though it does sound horrible. Horrible noise. But yeah, I mean, if you've been thinking about getting one of those cars, I can't say anything other than that to tell you not to go check one out. You know, you got a kid maybe that needs a car, or, you know, I could see a pretty great use case for this if I were driving around a bunch and needed to bring a bunch of stuff with me. You know, if I don't know, was a handyman or a road-driven IT guy going from house to house, geek squad kind of thing. I mean, I can literally just picture this car having like some sort of wrap on it for some type of service where somebody has to drive around a bunch, wants something comfortable, wants something roomy, needs to store a bunch of stuff with them, and needs it to be efficient and so on and so forth. But maybe has another car for, you know, more normal purposes or more fun purposes. I don't know. Or maybe you just don't have a lot of money to spend, which is also, you know, that happens too. So, yeah, let's see, what else? The dash is kind of cool. I like these little vents, the way that they sort of poke out. It almost looks like a face. Angry little Renegade. Yeah, so that's it. Go check one out. Thanks for watching.